I spent 6 years building a life with someone who couldn't even give me one honest conversation. I sacrificed my career, my friendships, and my own apartment, all to make his dream work. I became the person everyone could count on, the partner who never complained, the woman who held everything together. And when his ex-girlfriend showed up unannounced at the dinner party I had planned, I had paid for, and I had cooked every dish for, he looked me in the eye and told me to leave. Not her. Me. "Don't be jealous," he said like I was some insecure stranger. "But you can't stay. She'd feel uncomfortable with you around." I walked out that door knowing I'd never walk back through it the same way again. My name is Elena. I was 24 when I met Daniel. He was 28, charming in that quiet, thoughtful way that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We met at a gallery opening in Brooklyn, one of those cramped, overpriced spaces where everyone pretends to understand abstract art. He worked in tech consulting. I was finishing my master's in urban planning and working part-time at an architecture firm. Within 3 months, we were inseparable. Within a year, I'd moved into his apartment in Park Slope. He said it made sense financially. I said it felt like the next step. What I didn't say was that I'd given up my own lease in Astoria, a rent-stabilized studio I'd fought for, because he made it sound like our future was already written. Daniel had this way of making decisions feel collaborative when they were really just his. He'd ask my opinion, nod thoughtfully, then do exactly what he'd already planned. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself that's what compromise looked like. By year 3, I'd restructured my entire life around his. He wanted to start a boutique consulting firm with 2 of his college friends. It was risky. It required capital, long hours, and someone willing to hold down the fort at home. That someone became me. I went part-time at my firm, cutting my salary nearly in half, so I could manage our household, handle his scheduling, and keep our personal life from falling apart while he chased his dream. I didn't mind at first. I believed in him. I believed in us. But belief is expensive when you're the only one paying for it. His business grew. Slowly, then quickly. Within 2 years, they were profitable. Within 3, they had an office in Manhattan and a roster of clients I'd helped him organize, pitch to, and follow up with. I'd written half his early proposals. I'd edited his presentations at 2 in the morning. I'd been his unpaid COO, his therapist, his hype man, and he started to forget I existed. Not all at once. It was gradual. The kind of erasure that happens one missed dinner at a time, one sorry babe work ran late at a time, one event where I stood alone in the corner while he networked and laughed with people who didn't know my name. I brought it up once. Carefully. We were in bed, the lights off, his back to me. "I feel like I don't see you anymore," I said. "You see me every day," he replied, like I was being dramatic. "I mean see you. Like we used to." He sighed. "Elena, I'm building something. You said you supported that." I did. I had. But I didn't realize support meant disappearing. So I stayed quiet. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself once things stabilized, we'd get back to normal. Then came the dinner party. It was supposed to be a celebration. Daniel's firm had just closed a major deal with a logistics company, something that would triple their revenue. He wanted to host a dinner at our apartment. His partners, a few key clients, some friends. 20 people total. He asked if I could put something together. I didn't just put something together. I orchestrated it. I took 2 days off work, days I couldn't afford to lose, to plan the menu, shop for ingredients, clean the apartment, set the table, and prepare a 3-course meal from scratch. I made braised short ribs, roasted root vegetables, a fennel and citrus salad, fresh bread, and a lemon olive oil cake for dessert. I bought flowers. I arranged the seating. I printed place cards. I spent over $600 of my own money because Daniel was too busy to deal with logistics. The night of the party, I was in the kitchen finishing the final touches when I heard the door open. Voices poured into the apartment. Laughter, greetings, the sound of wine bottles clinking. I wiped my hands on my apron and stepped into the living room. That's when I saw her. Olivia. Daniel's ex-girlfriend from college. The one he'd dated for 4 years. The one he still followed on Instagram. The one whose name occasionally came up in stories that always ended with, "But that was a long time ago." She was standing in my living room, holding a bottle of wine, laughing at something Daniel had just said. He hadn't mentioned she was coming. I felt my stomach tighten, but I forced a smile. I walked over. "Hey," I said, looking at Daniel. I didn't know Olivia was coming. He barely glanced at me. "Oh yeah, last-minute thing. She's working with one of our clients now, so I thought it'd be good to have her here." Olivia smiled at me. Warm. Friendly. Genuine. "Elena, right? Daniel's told me so much about you. This place looks amazing." I nodded. "Thanks. I'm glad you could make it." But Daniel had already turned away, leading her toward the bar cart. I went back to the kitchen. The dinner went exactly as I'd feared. I served every course. I refilled every glass. I cleared every plate. And Daniel didn't acknowledge me once. Not when I brought out the short ribs and everyone complimented the meal. He nodded along like the food had simply appeared. Not when I poured wine and someone asked who'd planned everything. He said, "We wanted to do something nice, like it had been a joint effort." And not when Olivia, sweet, charming, completely oblivious Olivia, asked if I was going to sit down and join them. "She's got a lot going on in the kitchen," Daniel said before I could answer. "But she'll be out soon." I never sat down. I watched from the doorway as Daniel held court at the head of the table. His table. In his apartment. With his guests. I was the help. I had somehow become the help in my own life. But it was the way he looked at Olivia that made my chest tighten. He was present with her, leaning in when she spoke, laughing at her jokes, refilling her wine before she had to ask. The version of Daniel I hadn't seen in over a year was sitting 3 feet away from me, and he was performing it for someone else. By 10 o'clock, people started to leave. I cleaned as they filtered out, stacking plates, wiping down counters, pretending I didn't notice that Daniel and Olivia had moved to the couch and were deep in conversation. By 11, it was just the 3 of us. I was exhausted. My feet ached. I'd been cooking and serving for nearly 8 hours. I walked into the living room, ready to collapse, ready for this night to finally be over. Daniel looked up at me, and I saw the flicker of annoyance in his eyes before he even spoke. "Hey, babe," he said, his tone careful. Too careful. "So, Olivia and I were just catching up, and I think we're gonna stay up a bit longer. Would you mind giving us some space?" I stared at him. "Giving you space," I repeated slowly. "Yeah, just for a little while. We've got some work stuff to talk through, and it's kind of sensitive." Olivia looked uncomfortable. She shifted in her seat. "Daniel, I can go. It's late anyway." No, you're fine," he said quickly, then turned back to me. "Elena, it's not a big deal. Just go to the bedroom or something. We won't be long." I felt something crack inside me. Not break. Not shatter. Just crack. Like the first fracture in a windshield before the whole thing spiders out. "You want me to go to the bedroom?" I said quietly. "Don't make it weird," he said, and there was an edge in his voice now. "It's just a conversation. In my apartment. Our apartment. That I cleaned. That I cooked in. That I paid for tonight." His jaw tightened. "Elena, don't do this right now." "Do what?" "Get jealous. It's not a good look." The room went silent. Olivia stood up. "I'm just gonna go." "Sit down, Olivia," Daniel said, not looking at her. He was staring at me now, and there was something cold in his expression. Something I hadn't seen before. "You're being ridiculous," he said. "Olivia is a colleague. A friend. And honestly, you hovering like this is making her uncomfortable." "I'm making her uncomfortable?" "Yes." He said it like it was obvious. Like I was the problem. "So I'm asking you nicely to give us some space. Go to the bedroom. Go for a walk. I don't care. But don't stand here and make this into something it's not." I looked at Olivia. She wasn't meeting my eyes. I looked back at Daniel. And I realized, with perfect clarity, that he wasn't asking me to leave the room. He was asking me to disappear. "Okay," I said softly. He blinked, surprised. "Okay. Yeah. I'll give you space." I turned and walked to the bedroom. I grabbed my jacket, my phone, my wallet, and my keys. I walked back through the living room without looking at either of them. I opened the front door. "Where are you going?" Daniel called after me. I stopped in the doorway. You said I was making her uncomfortable, I said. So I'm leaving. Elena, I didn't mean. You did. I closed the door behind me. I went to a 24-hour diner in Prospect Heights and sat in a booth by the window. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at my phone, waiting for him to call. He didn't. Not at midnight. Not at 1. Not at 2. At 3 in the morning, I got a text. Daniel asterisk, you're being dramatic. Come home asterisk. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I turned off my phone. I stayed at the diner until sunrise. Then I went to my friend Michelle's place in Bed-Stuy. She opened the door in her pajamas, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. What happened? She asked. I told her everything. She didn't interrupt. She didn't offer advice. She just listened. And when I finished, she said the thing I'd been too afraid to say out loud. Elena, he doesn't respect you. I nodded. Because I knew. I'd known for a long time. What are you going to do? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Because for the first time in 6 years, I didn't know. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going back to that apartment and pretending this hadn't happened. I wasn't going to beg someone to see me. Not anymore. I stayed at Michelle's for 3 days. Daniel called 17 times. He left voicemails that started apologetic and ended frustrated. He sent texts that cycled through confusion, irritation, and finally something close to panic. Daniel asterisk, I don't understand why you're doing this. Daniel asterisk, Olivia left right after you did. Nothing happened asterisk. Daniel asterisk, you're punishing me for something that didn't even happen. Daniel asterisk, we need to talk about this like adults. I didn't respond to any of them. On the 4th day, I went back to the apartment. Mid-afternoon. I knew he'd be at work. I packed everything I owned. It wasn't much. 6 years, and I'd somehow accumulated almost nothing that was truly mine. My clothes. My books. My laptop. A few kitchen tools I'd bought because Daniel never replaced anything. I filled 4 suitcases and 6 boxes. I left behind the furniture I'd helped pay for, the artwork we'd chosen together, the bed we'd shared. I didn't want any of it. I took one last walk through the apartment. It looked the same, but it felt like a museum of someone else's life. I left my key on the kitchen counter. No note. No explanation. I moved into Michelle's spare room and went back to work full-time. My boss was thrilled. I'd been one of their best hires before I'd scaled back, and they'd kept my position open hoping I'd return. Within 2 weeks, I was staffed on a major development project in Queens. Within a month, I was leading it. I didn't tell Daniel where I was. I didn't tell him I was done. I just stopped existing in his life the same way he'd stopped seeing me in mine. He figured it out eventually. Daniel asterisk, your stuff is gone. Daniel asterisk, are you seriously just leaving? Daniel asterisk, after 6 years. You don't even have the decency to have a conversation? I almost laughed at that last one. 3 weeks later, he showed up at my office. The receptionist called my desk. There's a Daniel here to see you? I told her to tell him I wasn't available. She called back 5 minutes later. He says he's not leaving until you talk to him. I went downstairs. He was standing in the lobby, hands in his pockets, looking thinner than I remembered. Tired. Elena, he said when he saw me. You need to leave, I said. I just want to talk. No. 5 minutes. Please. I crossed my arms. You have too. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I don't understand what happened. We had one fight. One bad night. And you just disappeared. I didn't disappear, Daniel. I left. Without talking to me. Without giving me a chance to explain. Explain what? I asked. That you asked me to leave my own home so your ex-girlfriend would feel comfortable? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He hesitated. I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I was stressed, and I handled it badly, but you didn't even give me a chance to apologize. You had 6 years to see me, I said quietly. You didn't need another chance. His face shifted. Confusion. Hurt. Then anger. So that's it, he said. You're just done? After everything we built. Asterisk I asterisk built, I corrected. I built it. You just lived in it. That's not fair. I just want to talk. No. 5 minutes. Please. I crossed my arms. You have too. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I don't understand what happened. We had one fight. One bad night. And you just disappeared. I didn't disappear, Daniel. I left. Without talking to me. Without giving me a chance to explain. Explain what? I asked. That you asked me to leave my own home so your ex-girlfriend would feel comfortable? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He hesitated. I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I was stressed, and I handled it badly, but you didn't even give me a chance to apologize. You had 6 years to see me, I said quietly. You didn't need another chance. His face shifted. Confusion. Hurt. Then anger. So that's it, he said. You're just done? After everything we built. I built. I corrected. I built it. You just lived in it. That's not fair. I found an apartment in Greenpoint. Small but mine. Rent stabilized, top floor, with a window that looked out over the skyline. I furnished it slowly, carefully, with things I actually liked instead of things someone else had chosen. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during the Daniel years. I started running again. I took a ceramics class on weekends. I went on a few dates, nothing serious, but enough to remember what it felt like to be seen. At work, I thrived. The Queen's project turned into a portfolio of projects. I was promoted. I was asked to speak on a panel about sustainable urban design. I was building the career I'd put on pause, and it felt like waking up after years of sleepwalking. I didn't think about Daniel. Or I tried not to. But then, 3 months after I'd left, I ran into one of his business partners at a coffee shop in Williamsburg. Elena, he said, surprised. I didn't know you were still in the area. I said politely. Have you been? Good? Really good. He nodded, then hesitated. I don't know if you've heard, but Daniel's firm is going through some stuff right now. I didn't ask. But he told me anyway. Apparently, one of their major clients, the logistics company they'd celebrated that night, had pulled their contract. The partner who'd brought them in had left to start a competing firm. And Daniel's 2 co-founders were buying him out. He's not handling it well, the partner said carefully. I think he's realizing he leaned on you more than he knew. I nodded. That sounds hard. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel satisfied. I just felt free. 6 months after I left, Daniel sent me one final message. Daniel ***, I saw your name in an article about the Queen's project. Congratulations. You deserve that, ***. Daniel ***, I'm sorry for the way things ended. I'm sorry for a lot of things, ***. Daniel ***, I hope you're happy. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But because I didn't need his apology anymore. I didn't need his acknowledgement or his regret or his hope that I'd found happiness. I found it on my own. A year later, I was walking through Brooklyn Bridge Park with someone new. His name was Marcus. He was an environmental engineer. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He remembered the small things. He showed up. We'd been seeing each other for 2 months, and it felt easy in a way I'd forgotten relationships could feel. We stopped to watch the sunset over the water, and he asked, "Have you ever been in love before?" I thought about it. Once, I said. But I don't think he ever really saw me. That's his loss, Marcus said. And I believed him. Because I'd spent 6 years trying to be enough for someone who'd made me feel invisible. And I'd spent the year after that learning that I didn't need to be seen by someone who refused to look. I just needed to see myself clearly. And now I did. I never saw Daniel again. I heard, through mutual acquaintances, that he'd moved to Austin, that he'd started over, that he was dating someone new. I hoped he was kinder to her than he'd been to me. But honestly, I didn't think about it much. Because the truth is, revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just living well. It's rebuilding what someone else broke. It's walking away from people who don't value you and refusing to let their blindness define your worth. Daniel asked me to leave so someone else could stay. So I left. And I never came back. Not because I wanted to hurt him, but because I finally understood that staying would have destroyed me. The best revenge I ever took was choosing myself. And I'd do it again. Every single time.